everyone, it's Maki. The Iron-Blooded Orphans movie has been released in Japan. On the official X account, the names and settings of the mobile suits appearing in the story were revealed. One of them is EBER-G. Mr. Kanitoke Ebi, who designed it, has also released an illustration. It depicts a scene with smoke coming out of a machine gun. Today, let's take a look at this EBER-G mobile suit. Please be careful. I'll discuss some spoilers from the Iron-Blooded Orphans movie. I'll avoid discussing the ending, but there will be spoilers about the mobile suits. If you want to experience the movie without prior knowledge, it might be best to skip today's program. Also, my channel is looking for supporters through membership. For 99 cents per month, you can get a name badge and commenting perks. Alright, let's begin the analysis. The EBER-G is a mobile suit operated by a civilian organization. However, compared to many other civilian mobile suits, it has remarkably high performance capabilities. There's a reason for this. In fact, the EBER-G is a modified version of the Grace. The Grace is a mobile suit produced and operated exclusively by Cal-re-A. There is a variant intended for civilian use called the Grace. Cal-re-A sells this mobile suit for civilian work purposes. Since it is meant to be operated by organizations other than Cal-re-A, its performance has been intentionally reduced through the simplification of certain structural elements. The Grace follows the same logic as the Maki model of military equipment in the real world. In other words, when an organization or nation sells weapons to others, they intentionally downgrade their performance to maintain strategic superiority. However, the EBER-G Grace has not undergone these Maki model downgrades. Its performance is nearly identical to that of the original Grace. This makes sense, as although its external armor and appearance have been altered, its internal structure remains the same. Of course, it would be illegal for Cal-re-A to sell a Grace directly. Therefore, the EBER-G is sold under falsified records disguised as a Grace. The origin of the name EBER-G is still unknown. If it's being sold as a Grace, then that would be its official product name. Perhaps the organization that uses it in the story simply gave it a nickname. We'll likely have to wait for future spin-offs or related works to learn the true reason behind the name. Of course, it's easy to speculate based on real-world logic. It's likely that using the same name as a previously appearing mobile suit, such as Grace, would cause confusion among viewers, so a different name was necessary. There would also be practical issues with selling gunplay under the same exact product name. Now, let's analyze the differences between the EBER-G and the Grace. Although its outward appearance has changed, its basic frame structure remains the same. A close look at the arms reveals that they share the same design as the Grace. The most noticeable changes are the additional armor on the shoulders and chest. The head design has also been altered, of course. By remodeling these visually prominent areas, it's clear that the intention was to create the impression that this is a different unit from the Grace. Another distinctive feature is the addition of Vulcan guns on the head and chest. These weapons are meant for suppressive fire against approaching enemies. However, in the world of orphans, mobile suit armor is extremely durable. Therefore, Vulcan guns would have a hard time inflicting any real damage. They are not particularly effective weapons in battles between mobile suits. The reason for adding these Vulcan guns remains unknown. What do you think? Perhaps since they were being sold to a civilian organization, the designers thought that having more visible weapons would convince inexperienced buyers that the machine was more powerful. Or maybe they were added under the assumption that the EBER-G would be used against smaller targets, like infantry or vehicles, rather than mobile suits. It'll be exciting to see if future spin-offs reveal the true reason these Vulcan guns were added. EBER-G isn't just any mobile suit. It's a machine that symbolizes the corruption within Cal-re-A, the organization that established it. Cal-re-A was originally established to maintain global security. Various nations provided funding and military contributions to create it, with the goal of monitoring the world and intervening in potential conflicts before they could escalate into war. In this respect, it is similar to Compass from the Seed series. However, over the course of many years, Cal-re-A lost its noble ideals. Even in the early stages of the TV series, characters openly stated Cal-re-A has begun to rot as an organization. At the climax of the story, Maki rose in armed rebellion against this corruption. Although Russell Alien was Maki enemy, he also disapproved of Cal-re-A's corruption. Ultimately, under Russell's leadership, Cal-re-A was reborn as a more democratic organization. The EBER-G mobile suit exists in the midst of Cal-re-A's decline. It is the result of Cal-re-A members illegally selling grazes for personal gain. The graze was originally created to protect the people. Though the graze is a minor role, it can be interpreted as a mobile suit that symbolizes the spirit of Cal-re-A. The EBER-G is a mobile suit that betrays this noble spirit and is created even in disguise for the sake of money. Imagining this kind of background while watching the movie might make the experience even more fulfilling. Thank you for watching until the end. I'll see you in the next program.